Hello, dear friends. Oh my goodness, I wanted to come to you guys and thank you so much for the outpouring of kindness that you have given me through my last two videos. And I wanted to kind of clear up a couple more things because I feel like if I go silent or if I stop talking, then it looks like I don't know what it looks like. You know what? And I don't give a rat's behind what it looks like. I've had a couple of people reach out to me and I wanted to just like touch on a couple of subjects. This lighting is not great. It's horrible, in fact, but you know what? Hey, you guys have seen me at my worst, right? I wanted to talk about a couple of things that I have evaluated and come to recognize within just like the last video that I shot. And I hope that Oliver's down here with me. This is in my little treasure room. So I wanted to just shoot this real quick video. So that's why the lighting's horrible, because it's no longer daylight out. So I'm doing it with artificial light. So anyway, had a lovely day, and you guys saw that on my social media, that I had a really lovely day, and I painted for most of the day and wrote. I wrote a blog post, but I wrote it like longhand, and so like handwritten, because you guys know how I'm very much very much like that old-fashioned way of writing, and then I can actually put it into a blog post. I'm still working on my website design, but kind of things have taken a back seat, which is understandable. But a couple of things that I've had evaluated and that I paid attention to, what you guys were saying to me and what you dear friends were mentioning in posts, private messages, emails, and things of that nature. And so I wanted to talk about that because the biggest thing that I want to accomplish, especially with the death of my son, and mind you, isn't that like a total British thing to say, is like piss off and mind you, I think that the thing that is most important that I want to talk about is the fact that I have noticed within myself, because you guys know that I'm very much the kind of person to want to figure out things. Like, I want to understand why I do the things, or why something didn't work, or why I'm having an issue with this particular thing, or how I have not grown in this area and I want to grow in that area. I'm just an ever-learning person, which most people are. I think I'm just a little bit more verbal about it, I think. Actually, I know. I'm just quite a bit more verbal about it. So, like I said, one of the things that I noticed, when I spoke to you guys yesterday about just like losing my ever-living mind, like I felt like I was completely at a most vulnerable state, and that is okay. That's the thing, is that I feel like oftentimes, like, some people might make the comment or say things like, oh, well, you know what? It looks like your ex-husband is getting his way because he is able to make you become so distraught and so upset. And that is perfectly fine, because I love myself enough to know that I'm giving myself that, I'm willing to give myself that ability. I'm willing to give myself that ability to be vulnerable. And I think it's hard for a lot of times for people to feel that way. Like, it's okay for people to see you in that perception, like, he may see this video or he may see those other videos and say, oh, well, that's not true, or look at how much I'm affecting her, because it's kind of like a gleeful state that he's in because he's getting his way. That's Oliver in the background. Oliver, what are you doing? He loves it because it's real dark back there. Anyway, but I don't care about that. Like I said, I'm very quick to say that I don't care what other people think about me. Most importantly, I honestly don't care what my ex thinks about me. And I think the thing is that's like a typical response or a typical way that we prolong healing, because we're afraid, once again, to be vulnerable or to allow someone to see us a certain way, because then we're perceived a certain way by their subjective opinion. And so I don't care about that, honestly. And the other thing that I came to understand is, one, I want to talk about anger. The second thing I want to talk about is parental alienation. I mentioned that on my Facebook. The other thing that I want to talk about too is, I'm losing my train of thought. I said anger, parent alienation, and oh my goodness gracious, I can't remember the other one. I hope I can think of it after I'm talking more. Anyway, okay, so the anger thing is throughout the divorce process and all of that kind of stuff. And there's so many things that I haven't told you guys. Like, there's just too many things to talk about. And I think the thing is that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, is that, let me cliff note that somehow, is about the way that certain women that are coming to the perceived rescue of my ex-husband, because I've seen a lot of women reach out to him, or I've heard through other people that like women continually support him, and that's understandable. And here is my thought on that, is that there's many of those women that I actually know or know of, and I remember their lives a long time ago. And that's the thing, a lot of times people think that they can, kind of water under the bridge things, but it's like, I remember you back then when your husband was beating the snot out of you and he was put in jail. You know what I'm saying? And so I understand that the women, a majority of the time, women that actually go towards my ex-husband and they support him, like I'm talking about like women that are in the church. There's a lot of people that were my close friends that actually are now completely supporting him and completely, like all of his comments on social media, and I'm supporting you and I'm here for you and good for you, to the ex and everything like that. And those used to be my friends. And it's just interesting that my analysis on that is, I know those women like to a degree, and some of them I know closely. In the past, I knew them and I was really good friends with a lot of them. And they all, I wouldn't say every single one of them, but let me just say 90% of those women are actually or have been in abusive relationships themselves. So when you support someone like that, it actually is just showing that they are still an abused, they're in that psyche still. And I say that with all clarity. I make no excuses for it whatsoever. And the thing is it's like, before it was bothering me because I was like, she knows better. Like, how could she possibly support someone, you know what I'm saying, like for these different women? And I'm saying her, but I mean like many of those women. And it's because they live in this mentality of, they don't want to either look at it deeply, because that will therefore mean that they need to internally look at themselves for what they accept in their lives. And so a lot of women don't want to do that. They will shut that shit down, which is normal. Listen, I shut it down for a long time, so I can completely understand that. So I'm not going to direct my anger at them, because I actually, hopefully they see the light and their eyes will be opened one day. But that's not my job. You know what I mean? My job is to figure out like why I'm still so angry and why I didn't really heal. And I think that I've discovered that a little bit more today. And that is that I am using the anger from my past relationship. Hey, can you hear me?
What are you doing?
I'm shooting a video. Hey, Ollie. I'm not going to focus on that because I don't think that it's necessary for my healing. The other thing that I think as well is the thing that I've noticed is that I feel a lot better as far as like feeling like I'm in control of my thoughts, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with meditation, because honestly, I had not meditated for, like, after I found out that it happened. I think the day before I found out about Sawyer's death was the last time that I had meditated. And I think that really has a huge impact on me. And so when I meditated today, I felt so much better, and I actually used my crystals, and I use my, my stones that protect me from, people that want to see terrible things happen to me, just protective of my spirit, and like while I'm healing and things of that nature. And so I think that that's important. Like, listen, I'm not the kind of person that's gonna say like, oh, you have to have this, and you gotta sage your house, and you've got to use these crystals to ward off evil spirits, kind of thing. But I do think that if something you use, like say for instance, I use my crystals, like I keep my amethyst with me all the time, and I keep my quartz crystal with me all the time, because not only are those my favorite crystals, but they also, I feel like I really need that. Like I need the amethyst for my chakra and for my mind to be clear, and I need my rose quartz because it helps me with love, and I have to remember that to love myself through this process. And that's what I hopefully am helping other people, and maybe inspiring some other women and men to understand as well, that when things like this happen, it's always the ability, if we can do it, to take that contrasting moment, and try to figure out, like solving it like it's an equation. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that. That's how I like to look at life, and that's the only way that I feel like I can internally grow and expand as a human being. And so, and that's the other thing, is not apologizing for how your process is going. Like, remember that there's always going to be people, no matter what, that are going to like want to give their advice. And that's beautiful. And I love that. And especially, people that have, especially with people that have experienced it themselves. However, no one is exactly like you. They could have almost the exact scenario, seemingly would be the exact scenario, but no one in this entire universe ever that was born or created is ever exactly precisely like me and precisely like you, right? So you have to remember that the most important person's opinion is yourself. And that has to be the main focus. That has to be the main priority. And it's nice to have that support. But I think it's also important to remember that you have to keep looking inside. You can't, listen, you can do anything you want, but becoming distracted for me, except if it's not for work, or it's like creating stuff or writing my book and I feel inspired, about Sawyer's death and things of that nature, that's the way that I'm using this positively. And anyway, but the other thing that I was going to say too, besides the parental alienation, is the fact that the anger has been something that has come up for me, because I think, oftentimes you wonder why, like say somebody says something to you on social media and it catches you the wrong way. And you can always directly relate that to something that has penetrated you in a way emotionally that has caused you grief, pain, joy, happiness, and all of that kind of thing, right? So think about somebody that like, maybe I think, for instance, okay, this was the thing, is that like, an example of this is something that used to bother me to no end. And I'll even give you an example now. the thing that would bother me to no end is that I would see, like, even like on reality shows or something, and I would see these women like catering to their husbands and like being submissive, and them being like a real jerk to her. And anyway, they ended up, like, I think every one of them that I have ever thought about that, they've ended up getting a divorce, or it comes out in the media that they were like adulterers and whatever. And I don't know if you want to call it like my intuition, but like, you can read people, even if it's on TV, you can tell if somebody's authentic or not. And if you can't, I don't know. I'm a very empathic person, and so I can see like psychically a lot of things. But anyway, isn't that funny how you can see psychically for other people, but a lot of times you can't see it for yourself? Anyway, the point is that those particular things would drive me mentally nuts. I would become so enraged when I would watch those reality shows, and I'm like, okay, this is not taking me to a good place. But I had to sit back and not be one of those keyboard crazies that would like this blah 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 blah, you know what I mean, and like go to town on like why that person's a piece of crap. Like, I really always am self-evaluating and like, okay, Raquel, why is that stimulating such a response in you? And it was always because, now that I recognize, it's because that I have been treated in that same way, and I never felt that there was a justification as feeling like I'm vindicated. Do you know what I mean? Like, they always got, the man always got, to perceive, to get away with it, so to speak. And so I always do that, don't I? It reminds me of Chris Farley. Remember, he would down by a van in the river. Anyway, but anyway, so like what I was saying is that I think that that's the one thing that I have understood since those videos, and I rewatched them a couple of times, and understanding like, oh wow, okay, my anger never was actually healed. I've never actually gotten over the anger part of it. And that doesn't mean that I haven't grown in other areas, and there's not as much anger as there used to be. But this just kind of elevated it quite a bit with Sawyer's death. And so if there's anything that I want to teach, that is to understand and recognize, okay, so I'm transferring the anger, which is something I don't want to do. And the reason, and explaining the reason and how we're going to work through this, okay? So anger, I mean, you could use this for anything you want in your life, because anger is a very, very high on the emotional scale of emotions that we have. Like, there's only basically like 5 emotions, but you can put all of those different ones into those categories, and anger is one of them, right? Now, let me explain to you the main reason that people continually keep anger in their hearts and souls, right? Because our goal is to move past the anger. But the number one reason, and if you follow the law of attraction and you follow Abraham Hicks, right? I'm a big, big, big person that is a component of learning about this kind of stuff and using law of attraction to work through my emotions and you don't ever need a therapist. You can be your own therapist if you just are willing to do the work, okay? So the main reason that people don't work through their anger is because when we were little teeny girls and boys, now not necessarily so much boys, but girls especially, and I know this from personal experience, add on the fact that I'm a Southern girl raised in a very old-fashioned environment and circumstances, right? So it's, the mom's barefoot and pregnant. She caters to the father. She waits on him hand and foot. She is to be pregnant. She is to be submissive to her husband. She is to be seen and not heard, almost like children. What he says goes ultimately. So when you're raised with that on top of all of that other stuff that you've got to work through, that there's a lot of levels, okay? There's a lot of scales, if we want to use mermaid methodology, is that We are taught, especially too, if you're a submissive woman and you've been raised that way. Secondly, if you've also been the kind of person that was in a very restrictive, controlled religion, okay? I was in 2 very controlled religions, Pentecostal Church of God and then a Mormon. So when you have those on top of that as well, then you are going to struggle because you are always taught, this is my personal perspective, is that when I was a little girl, you're not supposed to be angry. It's not godlike and you are wrong. You are technically wrong if you are showing anger because anger is not of God. Okay, now that I know different, the truth of the matter is that anger actually is of God, okay? The only way that we are able to process emotions is to actually feel them and go through them. But when you stifle a person and you make them feel through a belief system that they are wrong for an emotion that they feel, because this is what people do with a lot of different emotions, but I'm talking about anger here, okay? Is that when you are taught to stifle it, you are wrong and inappropriate. So see, even though I practice spirituality and the law of attraction, that doesn't mean you're never going to have contrast. If anything, you're just going to understand how to work through the process easier than if you're in a controlled environment or a religious situation, because you were taught to stifle those feelings. If that's how you feel, bury it. It's inappropriate. God doesn't like angry people, and God forbid you even say God forbid. I mean, I was taught never to use the word God unless you're going, oh, thank you, God. And that's it. I mean, you're condemned for the littlest littlest things that you do. And so when a person has that belief system, if you don't work through and create a new belief system, you're going to do what I did. So 4 years ago, when I was so angry with that, and even though I have been practicing the law of attraction, you're still going to take on those things until you recognize. Like, it took, I guess, Sawyer's death for me to understand that I still have, we always have a progression, right? We're never going to get things done and like all tidied up with a nice little bow. And I reached perfection. Now I get to be in heaven, right? Because that doesn't really exist except in your mind. Like, you're in heaven right now on earth if you decide that that's how you want to live, right? It's all in focused thought, okay? Where you put your energy grows. And so anyway, that's what I've learned, is that I am trying to figure out, okay, so now that I know where it stemmed from, right? Because I never overcame it with my divorce. Secondly, I understand where it came from as far as my childhood and the belief system of where I picked that up. And now it's okay for me to be angry. I don't care if someone in, New Jersey or Lake Michigan thinks that I am allowing through my videos for someone to see me at a vulnerable state, because that looks like they're winning. This isn't a game for me to say, I won and you lost. Even though when you're dealing with narcissistic, like psychologically, people that are psychologically need to have like a lot of, like they need a lot of therapy too, like, or they need to work on themselves therapeutically, right? That they don't see it that way. They see it as a game, winner and loser perspective. And that if I can win, I'm in control. And so you have to give up control. You have to give up control of yourself or feeling that you can predict or control how people are going to perceive you through your process, whether that's grief, whether that's a breakup, whether that's learning or you transitioning out of your religion. No matter what it is, you have to be able to not care and try to have control over people and their perspective of you, right? Because what's going to happen is you care more about what they think about you and your healing than your healing process. Once again, I am saying that it is okay to be selfish. Actually, it's very healthy for your mind and your spirit and your body to be selfish. And until you put yourself first, Will you ever heal? Will you ever grow? Because have you ever noticed those people that like, you're like, okay, so they have never overcome that, or they have never worked through that, or they have never forgiven themselves, or they have never done this, or whatever. And you say, like, to me, I don't want to become stuck in this time capsule of like this perceived person of like, oh, she just became this kind of person. Like, I want to continually evolve and grow and learn and inspire people. And so that is what I'm doing. I am willing to put myself out there, just lay myself on the pavement and just, I don't care if people ream me from one end to the other, especially my ex and all of those, especially women that I can see. I've had a lot of actually men in my past that I've known or I was friendly with, which have come to the forefront and actually emailed me and sent me messages and things of that nature. And I want you to know that I appreciate those. I have read them and I've seen them. I may have not responded to you yet because I just haven't had the mental energy to do it, but I just want you to know that I appreciate that, which is interesting as well because for whatever reason, I don't know why they've reached out, but I'm assuming that it's because maybe they feel some sense of connection with me, right? And what I'm saying. And I'm not a person that makes stuff up. I'm not a person that is attention seeking. I'm not any of that. What I want to do is learn for myself because I am being selfish. Let's be honest. This is for me. I mean, I'm just going to own it and put it out there. I mean, I'm in on the joke. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how many people just act like they're not in on the joke? And it's like, that's what makes you not relatable, right? Is that you act like you're here and it's like you're not really better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm completely accepting of that and I'm completely vulnerable in the way that I'm willing to grow and learn no matter what it takes. If I have to look like a fool on YouTube videos or write a post that I look like a needy, vindictive, angry, jealous, bitter person, then so be it. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Because I'm all about me. Let's be honest. We're all in the end all about ourselves. When it comes down to it, if it's me or you, it's really going to be you. You're going to pick you. And that's perfectly perfect, right? Because that's how we all come to the earth and that's how we'll all end up leaving. And if you think that I'm a selfless person and I'm this and that, like, there's only a reason for that of you feeling like that you're missing out on a self-love, internal self-love, right? Because you need to be able to say, I mean, that's a powerful thing to be able to say, yeah, I'm all about myself. It's not an arrogant thing. It's not any of that. It's just about I'm important. I matter. I care. And you need to get to that point as well. You need to feel like you're most important in your life because until you are, other people will run your life. You will never heal from things. You will never grow from things. You will always use other people as a way for you retreating and not being who you true and authentically were born to be. So I wanted to leave that with you. I hope that this helped you today. I am going tomorrow. I was going to talk just briefly about the parent alienation, which I'm sure if you guys were to look that up, I mean, there's so many videos, there's so many things, so many blogs and things of that nature about it. But basically it's just, the reason I posted that on my Facebook today was because, I guess people think that I need to know certain things about my ex, like, what he's doing or what he's posting and things of that nature. And they're very willing to always share information. Because I have blocked him from certain things. And this is just for the moment. I'll change my mind and I have a right to change my mind. Like I wrote a blog post not long ago that I would never block anybody or whatever. But guess what? I have a right to change my mind and then I can change it back if I want. I can change it 50 times from here to tomorrow. That's the other thing is you got to be willing to allow things. It's okay. You have a right to change your mind. And that doesn't mean you're a liar or you're this or that or you can't be believed. No, it just means you're allowed. It's okay. I give you permission. You need to give yourself permission that you can change your mind. You can be stalwart stalwart about a particular thing or a particular belief system that you have. But then you can just decide tomorrow that you want to be a different person. I can decide that I'm throwing all my modern clothes out and I want to dress Victorian for the rest of my life and never put modern clothes on again. And I'm allowed. Nobody controls me and nobody controls you. So anyway, the parent alienation was that someone sent a picture, and I already knew this because, like I had said yesterday on my video, that my mother informed me, and she just wanted to give me a heads up that she did want to see the grandkids, you know, and I know that they are being used as manipulation tools, you know, because they have an emotional attachment with my mother, and because my mother was always super, very, very in my children's life at growing up. And so even though when we moved around and things like that, I mean, she was always like coming up to visit and staying with me for weeks at a time and stuff like that. And so my children love my mom and dad very much. And so I know that that is another tactic that my ex is using to persuade public opinion, that because how good does it look that he is taking my children, our children to my parents' house, and I'm not there for the memorialization of Sawyer. And that's the mind bending of someone that is using social media to sway public opinion and to make me look like, see, it must be true because even her own mother and father allow them to come there and him to come there. And it's just a tactic. It doesn't bother me though, because I'm not the kind of person that's going to use my children as leverage. Like, I would never do that. That's not in my DNA. There's nothing, nowhere a part of me that would ever attempt to do anything like that. So it doesn't really bother me. Like, it honestly doesn't bother me. I am very fully aware of what's being done, and I don't care. I really don't care. Now, tomorrow I might be pissed as hell and might go on a tangent. But like I said, that's the process of anger. You have to go through the anger, or else you're never going to get up the rungs of the emotional scaled ladder if you keep stifling it. This is what I tell myself, and you should remember that too, is that it's okay to go through the anger. It's actually beneficial for us to do that. So however we do that, maybe you're just the kind of person that needs to write it in your journal, or go out and cut a tree down. You live on a farm. Maybe you need to go, beat your throw rugs to oblivion, cleaning them in the process of beating the anger out, right? Or go to a kickboxing class. Maybe those are your ways of doing that. And so everybody has their own way. So this is my way that I'm getting the anger out. And even though I'm like calm right now, like I said, I meditated, I use my crystals, I have essential oils on. And if you guys ever want to know like exactly what oils I use for like anger and different things of that nature, or if you're interested in, because I thought it might be a good idea to actually do a like 10 ways to combat anger or something like that. Do you guys think that that would be a good blog post? Because then when you can have it in writing, you don't actually have to watch me. You could watch me, but you could also like have those things physically in front of you so you can see them. And, maybe that would help. You know what I'm saying? Like, use this one for this particular chakra, or this one for that, and whatever. So, and you may not even need those things. I don't need them, but they enhance my meditation. They enhance my environment. They make me feel good. When I smell certain oils, they chemically cause me to have a physical reaction, which is very good, and it balances me out. And so I use those to enhance my life. I don't need them. You don't have to ever have any kind of external things. Even though everything is energy, you don't have to have them, but why not enhance your experience, right? Why not enhance it? It's not, if it benefits you, you should do it. And so anyway, I hope that I covered everything. I want you guys to have a wonderful weekend and know that I love you. I'm thinking of you, and thank you so much again for all the support, all the GoFundMe donations. You did not have to do that, but thank you indeed so much, because I'm able to go and pay for Sawyer's registration for his tags. I mean, I want you to know what the money is going to, okay? The money is going to me having to send things off to the court for his death certificate, to pay for, like I said, for his note payment on his truck. I'm putting money aside for that. I have to, get a new registration. You have to get new tags. You have to do all of that. And so that is what I'm using that GoFundMe money for. And I want you to know, I don't want to cry, but I am so appreciative of you. Thank you so much. And I love you so much, and you guys are helping me more than you know, and I love you so much for that. So I will leave you with that. Again, the gardener and I are going tomorrow, and we're going to go to buy crystals, because I want some more certain crystals that I found that I was like, oh, I really want to get a couple of crystals. We have a little crystal place that's down 10 miles from us at the flea market, and the crystals are so inexpensive and so beautiful and so big and pretty. And I think you guys have seen some of my crystals on social media, where I've gotten the big chunky ones, and just gorgeous, the quartz and all that. I'm salivating when I go in go to that flea market. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do tomorrow. And then I also have to go to my parents' house prior to Sunday, because I was told that's when the ex and the children are going to be there, and I am not to be there. So so what I'm going to do is take down the little urn that I got from my daughter Zoe Kennedy of Sawyer's remains, his cremation remains, and I'm going to give my mother and father theirs as well. So that'll be fun, and I'll probably find something cool. I'll go shopping in my dad's workshop and find some cool little piece of something and bring back to make. And I'm just excited for the weekend, and I'm going to send out some paintings that I was commissioned to do, and I had such fun doing those. And like I said, if you guys are interested in any of my paintings, especially a personalized Christmas card, I really think that is a beautiful idea, and I'll use gold leaf paint on them, which I think is a nice touch for Christmas. So if you're interested in that, just send me a message and we'll talk, and I'll get back with you and we'll figure out your order, and it will be lovely. And I would be so happy to paint for you, because it makes me happy and it brings joy to me, and it really makes me think about Beatrix Potter when she was mourning the death of Warren, her fiance, and she said that all she wanted to do was paint because it made the pain go away, and I truly can relate to her in that way. And I posted that quote too on social media. So anyway, all right, I leave all of these things with you, and most affably yours till my next swim. Ciao.